And so it's important for us to understand the functionality of the body so that we can...
Coach, are you on the phone?
No, of course.
I'm so sorry.
As I began to study the functions of the body, it really started to become clear to me how important it is that we individually know these things. We individually know something about how this body, this vessel that we are in control of, how it operates. You know, it's like owning a car, right? Right? You own a car and something goes wrong with it, right? And it breaks down. And you have to take it to a mechanic. If you have no clue of what's happening with the car, then the mechanic can charge you anything. They could say anything to you. They could speak about anything that's wrong with that they deem is wrong with it. And you'd have to go along with it because you have no clue about these things. I see it the same way with the human body. You know, you can go to doctor after doctor after doctor to tell you one thing after the other. But if you don't have any clue about how you feel, what parts of your body feel a certain way, if you're clueless about that, they can tell you anything. They can run you any kind of game to get you to take whatever it is that they want you to take, operate on whatever it is they want to operate on. So I find it very critical for us to learn these different parts of our bodies, internally as well as externally. I'm not saying you got to become a doctor. I'm not saying you have to go through some rigorous education platform to try to learn these things. All I'm saying is that if you know just a little bit about how your body functions, it could take you far, because it's not complicated. It's really not complicated. Just like with a car, it's really not complicated. It's complicated to get in there and start, you know, taking apart stuff in a vehicle. To start taking apart stuff and trying to put it back together. Yeah, that's complicated. But knowing how it functions, it's not really that complicated. Knowing the different parts, you know, knowing how you feel when you're driving it, it's not that complicated. You know, if you really take the time to do it. And that's for those of us that don't want to be taken. You know, that's for those of us that care about understanding what's going on. There are those that don't really care. They'd rather someone else tell them. So too with their own bodies. They'd rather someone else tell them what's wrong. And that's fine. That's cool. You could do that. But I do believe that it is more important for us to know than not know. So with all that said, like I talked about in my last few videos, understanding what it means when talking about the health of the body, it was so eye-opening. There was so much that I didn't know, that I learned, and I began to apply. From the anatomy and physiology of the body, from digestion to circulatory system to, you know, all these different things that helps the body operate, to the foods and things that go into the body, you know, that we ingest, what they do, what are they good for, what are they not good for. I talked about eating chicken and eating red meat. Those were things that I found deleterious to the function of my body, right? So I cut them out completely and started on a plant-based journey, and it was fascinating. You know, not only that, I also incorporated the Bible and finding different health principles and different things that related to taking care of this temple that was given to me, for me to be the steward of. You know, also in marriage, and that's a whole nother different beast, a dynamic that I'll talk about. Just the relationship, the health of a relationship. When we talk about the body, when we talk about bringing two together, you know, the twain shall become one. Man, it's a whole different, although related, it's a whole different lane of understanding. You know, I want to encourage every person, every man, every woman, every child, every parent to start understanding just a little bit about how your body operates. And you can start with the anatomy of digestion, right? And I can go over that right now. I'm gonna go over that right now, right? Simple. What do? We cook food, right? We prepare food, right? It's sitting on the plate, sitting on the table. And then what do? We eat it, right? We ingest it, right? And it goes into our mouths, right? That's the first step of digestion. And as it goes into your mouth, what happens, right? What builds up into the mouth? Saliva, right? Saliva is an important part of digestion, right? Because it helps to break down the food particulates that are being masticated by your teeth. Once you're masticating the food and your saliva is mixing in, right? What happens? That saliva and that masticated food, the very fine particulates of food that have been very finely chewed up, should have been very finely chewed up, because the body, the stomach, cannot chew up food. That's what your teeth do. So it is important that you masticate, right? You masticate your food. And then once it goes down the esophagus, right? So this is all about the anatomy of digestion. It goes down the esophagus and goes where? Into the stomach. What happens in the stomach? There are acids in the stomach that help break it down. Like I said, there are no teeth inside the stomach. So the body is designed to break down things at a molecular level, right? So your teeth help to break that stuff, those solids, down further, so that the body can properly get the nutrients and things at a cellular, molecular level, right? At the smallest, tiniest molecule it possibly can. So the juices in the gut help to break down that stuff. Once that's done in the stomach, it goes into the small intestines. And that's a whole maze, a long maze, right? And then it goes into the large intestines, which is the ascending, transverse, and descending colon, right? And then it goes from the colon down out through the anus. That's the process of digestion. That's the anatomy of digestion, right? Now we can get into the details of what's in saliva, what's in the esophagus, what are those acids breaking down in the stomach, right? Where at that moment, where are all these nutrients going, right? From the pancreas, how the liver is breaking down. We can get into all that, right? And we will. But just simple, just a simple thing. You put the food into your mouth, you masticate. The saliva helps you to masticate the food. Then it goes down the esophagus into the gut. The acids in the stomach break it down, and then from the stomach it goes into the small intestines, and then from the small intestines into the large intestines, or the colon, ascending, transverse, descending, colon, out the anus, and that's it, right? And the details we'll talk about later, like transit time, things of that nature. So just a little basic thing to go through. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it, to answer any questions. I want to try to make this as simple as possible for us to understand. So that's a portion of the anatomy and physiology of digestion. I hope that helped, and I'll see you next time. Salute.